Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tiravanachari Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari and Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jai Mr. Pad Paramahansa Acharya Ashtottara Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivajaka Ashtottara Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavini Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Ki Jai. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamhadiriyet. Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashtaprayesha Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatuttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil,
and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact.
Time out for 1 second. Okay.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. On this 27th day of March, 2024, in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we're in Canto 7, The Science of God, Chapter 7, What Prahlad Learned in the Womb, text number 38. But before we begin that, I'm going to move over here a little bit to the right. Yeah, let's line it up with that camera. This is over here. Next time. Okay. All right, word by word. Ko, ati, priyaso, asura, balaka, harer, upasane, sve, ridi, chidravat, sataha, svasyatmanaha, sakyur, ashesha, dehinam, samanyataha, kim, vishayopapadanai, kopi prayaso sudabalaka harer, upasane sve vidichidnhavat sataha, swasyatmanak sakyurashesha dehinam, samanyata kim vishayopapadanai, koti priyaso sudabalaka harer, upasane sve vidichidnhavat sataha, swasyatmanak sakyurashesha dehinam, samanyata kim vishayopapadanai, koti priyaso sudabalaka harer, upasane sve vidichidnhavat sataha, swasyatmanak sakyurashesha dehinam, samanyata kim vishayopapadanai, koti prayaso sudabalaka harer, upasane sve vidichidnhavat sataha, swasyatmanak sakyurashesha dehinam, samanyata kim vishayopapadanai, koti prayaso sudabalaka harer, upasane sve vidichidnhavat sataha, swasyatmanak sakyurashesha dehinam, samanyata kim vishayopapadanai, koti prayaso sudabalaka harer, upasane sve vidichidnhavat sataha, swasyatmanak sakyurashesha dehinam, samanyata kim vishayopapadanai. You want to try? Koti Piyaso Sudabalaka Hare Upasane Sve Vidichidna Vatsataha Swasyatmanak Sakyura Shesha Dehinam Samanyata Kim Vishayopapadanai. Anyone online?
Koti prayaso asurabalaka hare
Koti Piyaso Sudabalaka Hare
Upasane sveradi chidravatsataha
Upasane Sve Vidichidna Vatsataha
Sasyatmanaha sakyura shesha dehinam
Swasyatmanak Sakyura Shesha Dehinam
Samanyataha kim vishayopapadaneh.
Samanyata Kim Vishayopapadanai. Okay, word by words. Kaha, what? Ati Priyasaha, difficult endeavor. Asodabalakaha, O sons of demons. Harehi, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Upasane, in discharging the devotional service. Svay, in one's own. Riddhi, core of the heart. Chidravat, just like the space. Sataha, who always exists. Svasya, of oneself or of the living entity. Atmanaha, of the Supersoul. Sakyuhu, of the well-wishing friend. Ashesha, unlimited. Dehinam, of the embodied souls. Samanyataha, generally. Kim, what is the need? Vishaya upapadanai, with activities delivering the objects of the senses for sense enjoyment. Sorry, too many. Try it again. With activities delivering the objects of the senses for sense enjoyment. Okay. Translation. Prahlad continues to speak to his classmates. O my friends, sons of the Asuras, the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his Supersoul feature always exists within the cores of the hearts of all living entities. Indeed, he is the well-wisher and friend of all living entities, and there is no difficulty in worshiping the Lord. Why then should people not engage in his devotional service? Why are they so addicted to unnecessarily producing artificial paraphernalia for sense gratification? Purport. Because the personality of Godhead is supreme, no one is equal to him, and no one is greater than him. Nonetheless, if one is a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord is easily obtainable. The Lord is compared to the sky, because the sky is vast, yet within the reach of all, not only of human beings, but even of animals. The Supreme Lord, in his Paramatma feature, exists as the best well-wisher and friend, as confirmed in the Vedas, Sayujao Sakayao. The Lord, in his Supersoul feature, always stays in the heart along with the living entity. The Lord is so friendly to the living entity that he remains within the heart so that one can always contact him without difficulty. One can do this simply by devotional service, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam. As soon as one hears of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna Kirtan, one immediately comes in touch with the Lord. A devotee immediately comes in touch with the Lord by any or all of the items of devotional service. Those who know this verse can chant along. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padasevanam Archanam Bandhanam Dasyam Sakyamatma Nivedanam. Therefore, there is no difficulty in coming in contact with the Supreme Lord. Koti Priyasaha. On the other hand, going to hell requires great endeavor. If one wants to go to hell by illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, and intoxication, he must acquire so many things. For illicit sex, he must arrange for money for brothels. For meat eating, he must arrange for many slaughterhouses. For gambling, he must arrange for casinos and hotels. And for intoxication, he must open many breweries. Clearly, therefore, if one wants to go to hell, he must endeavor very much. But if he wants to return home back to Godhead, there is no difficult endeavor. To go back to Godhead, one may live alone anywhere, in any condition, and simply sit down, meditate upon the Supersoul, and chant and hear about the Lord. Thus, there is no difficulty in approaching the Lord. Adanta gobhir vishatam tamisram. Because of inability to control the senses, one must go through great endeavor to go to hell. But if one is sensible, he can very easily obtain the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead because the Lord is always with him. By the simple method of Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, the Lord is satisfied. Indeed, the Lord says, Patram Pushpam Palam Toyam Yome Bhaktya Priyachati. Join in. Tadaham Bhaktupaditam Ashnami Payatatmanaha. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I will accept it. Bhagavad Gita 9:26. One can meditate upon the Lord anywhere and everywhere. Thus Prahlad Maharaj advised his friends, the sons of the demons, to take this path back home, back to Godhead, without difficulty. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara, the disciplic succession. So first of all, I'd like to just remind us of the context here, what a situation this is. Here's Prahlad, 5 years old, completely fragile in body, but not really. They tried to kill him in so many ways he couldn't be killed. But apparently so. And he's taken the opportunity while the teachers are away taking lunch or whatever to enlighten his classmates. And every word of his instructions is an act of sedition. He's undermining the foundation of the Asuric state. These are the sons of the demons. They need to be trained in order to take over from the previous generation. And Hiranyakashipu is confident that Chanda and Amarka are doing their duty and so forth. Although they seem to have messed up with Prahlad, but now Prahlad himself has taken on the role of enlightening all of these classmates of his so that they won't be demons anymore. They don't want to engage in demoniac activity, what they were supposedly trained for. And they're listening with rapt attention. They're very submissive to him. So this is just another instance of Prahlad's absolute fearlessness because he feels the protection of Krishna at every moment. And he's proved it. All of those, it's hard to even think about it. He said, okay, get rid of him. And so what do? They took all the different ways that they have of killing people. Of course, swords and everything, that somehow he wasn't injured. Big elephants stamping on him, throw him into a vat of boiling oil, throw him off a cliff. What else do we got? Serpents, poisonous serpents. Nothing worked. And that really freaked out Hiranyakashipu. He became very afraid. Because that takes tremendous strength. It shows that there's a higher power, that there's a greater power who's protecting this fragile little body of this boy. So he sensed that, but what could he do? So he said, well, okay, he's just a boy. His teachers, the teachers said, we can reform him. He doesn't, we've done it before. All these kids, we just train him up, But he wouldn't be trained, From the very beginning, when Hiranyakashipu first took him on his lap after maybe the first day of school or whatever it was, smelled his head out of affection, and then asked him, what's the best thing you learned today? And Prahlad doesn't hesitate to speak truth to power. Tat sadhu manne sodavarya dehinam sadasamudvigna diyam sadgahat hit patmapatam griyamanda kupam vanam gato yadhadamashriyeta. Probably love to recite this verse. So the best thing, sadhu, as I pointed out many times, doesn't just mean a sadhu, but it means excellent. That's why I discovered, You know, many devotees say something is announced, someone distributes a lot of books, you know, there's a big festival. Sadhu, sadhu. And I think I did, when I first heard that, I said, oh, they're calling him a sadhu, you know. No, it means bravo, bravo, you know. And it's in Krishna Lila. They also do that sometimes when Krishna does something. So it's just another meaning of the word. So I said, tat sadhu mani. And they said, the best thing, oh father, but Prabhupada, he didn't actually call him father, he called him Asuravarya, the best of the demons. Apparently he didn't call him father until he was killed. He was blessed in that way. So tat sadhu mani, Asuravarya, dehinam. Then Prabhupada, it says in explaining this phrase, best for whom? Dehinam, for the embodied souls, for all of us. Sadas, who are sadgahat, who are always disturbed, more or less, in their conditioned state. Some udvigna means really disturbed in mind. Why? A sadgrahat. Because we're holding on to the temporary things as our shelter, beginning with these bodies. And then there's the extensions, the family and the wife and the Defense Department and the money that you have in the bank, you know. And these are our fallible soldiers, Shukadeva Goswami explains at the beginning of the second canto. We have faith in them, but actually ultimately they all betray us because they're temporary, they're material. But this is the world of anxiety, because deep down inside we know that, you know, we're not secure. So a sadgrahat. So what's his advice? In the first two lines, he's summarized material life problems. Hitvatmapatam griyamandakupam. He's given his father, right away he's preaching to his father, fearlessly. Give it up. Atmapatam, this situation which impedes the progress of the soul. Griyamandakupam, which is characterized, symbolized by the deep, dark well of materialistic household life. You see? Then what should I do? Vanam gato, go to the forest, and it's understood, Vrindavan forest. Vanam gato yad hadamashrayeta, and then take shelter of Lord Hari. That's not what Hiranyakashipu wanted to hear. He had a tremendous enmity toward Hari, who had killed his brother, Hiranyaksha, in the form of Lord Varaha. So, where did he learn this? You know, so right away he didn't. Later on, he threw him off his lap. I think for Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, that was the end. But for this one, he just cast a glance at Chandra and Markandeya. We don't know where he learned it from. We didn't teach it to him. So anyway, he was puzzled and somewhat disturbed, but he wasn't freaked out yet, because he figured, well, he's just a small boy. They can reform him, right? So it went on like that. Then comes another question, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. Then he gives him off. You know, he gives the 9 process of devotional service. He doesn't flinch at all. This is incredible, you know, courage he has here. And so then they gave him off to the henchmen. They couldn't injure him, what to speak of kill him. So then comes this episode here, where, you know, he's back in school and teaching. But then when the teachers go to tiffin hour, the lunch hour, now he has the chance to really do what he wants to do and preach. and his friends and classmates, they all highly respect Prahlad. You know, he's a son of the king, you know. Anyway, so this is what we've been hearing. And so what's the summary of his teaching? First of all, he mentions, which is this kind of the way you know, the great Acharya is presented. The first thing is to sober us up about our real condition. Who are we actually? And what is our condition in this world? Well, the first thing is you're not the body, you're pure spirit soul. But identifying with the body, you have to feel that you're undergoing the birth, old age, disease, and death, and the famous threefold miseries. We have someone new here, so I'm going to explain what they are. You know what they are, but maybe not by that name. The threefold miseries are technically called in Sanskrit Adhyatmika, Adidaivika, and Adibhautika. And Adhyatmika means miseries that are caused by your own body and mind. You know, everything might be nice, you know, the heat is on, temperature is nice, you're well fed, but you're suffering PTSD. You've been traumatized before, and your own mind is giving you trouble, nightmares and things. And your body, you know, or your body may be in pain due to some internal problem, whatever. So that's one misery. We're all familiar with those. Then another one is Adibhautika, other living entities, including human beings. This is a huge source of misery. whether, you know, you're in high school and somebody is after you, or, you know, you're being ridiculed, whatever, a million ways. Or more obviously wars that are going on, and you know, and then Prabhupada gives the example of bed bugs. You know, I mean, that's another, all kinds of creatures that can. So that's adibhautic miseries. And then adidaivic miseries. They've been very prominent lately, you know, because the climate is changing. So here, I've been living here since 1989. It's almost, it'll be 35 years in July. So I've experienced the change of climate here. You know, we never had, like year after year, it was like clockwork. December and January, we would have some rain. Sometimes it'd be really heavy, but it wouldn't go on all day. It would be a big downpour, and I'd look outside the window of my apartment, and I'm on the second floor, and I'd see the street would be full of water, because the drainage system wasn't that great, because it didn't rain that much. But anyway, so that would be it, and then come February, March, April, it would just be like spring weather, you know, never got too cold. So that's all changed. I mean, here we are, you know, what was it, February, you know, March, we were getting all this rain and the cold. It's changed. So this is adidaivic, and something that can be very, very serious. Even here, you know, we didn't get it, but when that atmospheric rivers started pouring down on us, different parts of San Diego County were getting flooded. There were actually floods. I think one person died, you know. And then in other parts of the country, it was much worse, the tornadoes and all this. So this is adidaivic. It also includes earthquakes and all these things, you know. So that's obviously a big one. So those three, adhyatmic, one's own body and mind, and they kind of overlap. Because if the pandemic came, all right, well, then you get the disease, and your own body is, you know, you can hardly breathe, and you're coughing, and, you know, weak, and all this. So, but is it a living entity? A virus is alive? They're not. But anyway, this is what those miseries are. And then there's the big four of birth, old age, disease, and death. So that has to be understood, that there's no point in investing. Because we're investing. What are we investing? We're investing our time, we're investing our attention, and our hopes and our aspirations, but to speak of sometimes our money, education, and so forth, in hoping to get a nice situation in this world, right? Oh, thank God I went to school. I worked hard in college, investing my time and everything, so that I got into a good school. Now I have a nice degree. Now I can have a career and be happy. No, you know, maybe you'll feel happy for a little while, but it's always changing. Even you know, before old age and death comes, there's things that can happen that can just make your life miserable, like I mentioned. But even if everything goes more or less according to plan, and you live the American dream, and you get your own house and everything, what about time? You know, old age is coming. You know, your kids have grown, but chances are they've flown the coop and they're doing their own thing. You know, it's not like the old days where everyone stayed at home. So, and then by the force of time, and Krishna, he identifies himself with time and also with death. In the 11th chapter, there's a famous verse. It was made. I don't know if it appeared in that movie. I didn't watch it. It was a movie that came out called Oppenheimer, right, or something like that, about the building of the atom bomb. People didn't know. I didn't know that he was a fan of the Bhagavad Gita. He actually read the Bhagavad Gita, you know. And what I heard was that, because he knew some of the verses, I guess, that when the first bomb blew up, you know, this was Alamogordo in 1945, and then they built the quick one and sent it over to Japan. They weren't sure, but there was a chance that it would blow up the whole universe. But we're going to do it anyway, you know, just. Anyway, so it blew up, and when he saw, you know, the big fireball and the mushroom cloud and all the things, he remembered a verse that Krishna spoke in the Bhagavad Gita. Kalos miloka chayakrit pavidho. I just know that line, but Arjuna is asked to see the universal form. This is not this all-attractive threefold bending form of Krishna. This is the universal form with all the power and the inconceivable breadth of the universe. That's a form of God also. So Arjuna is afraid, because this is not the Krishna he knew, you know. And he saw the soldiers. They were entering into the mouth, and he's chewing them, and he's killing them in that way, you know. Whew, you know, Arjuna said, oh, you know, who are you? And so he spoke this verse, Kalosmi Loka, I am time. I have come to destroy everyone, everything in the world, you know. Time I am, you know, like that. And Arjuna said, okay, you know, please, can I see your forearm form again? And gradually, you know, Krishna showed me. But this is what the forces of nature, you know, we call them nature, but they're all God's forces. He destroys everything. He says simply in the 10th chapter, previous chapter, Mrityu sarvaharaschaham. As death, I take everything away. And think about it. You may be Bezos or any of these multi-billionaires, you know, the inconceivable, obscene amount of money. Who needs $100 billion? It's horrible. All that money could be used to build temples and hand up prasadam. But anyway, they're not secure. You know, practically all of them, because they see these situations, they've built these bunkers, elaborate bunkers with all kinds of provisions in there, and you know, cooling and heating and everything. It's silly, you know. You're in this bunker, but this bunker is going to be destroyed. The body, there's no safety. It's silly. So that's the material condition. There's no chance of really eternal happiness or eternal security. You can only have the temporary illusion of those things, and that just keeps you more in illusion. Better to see actually what's going on and question: is there a way out of this? Is there a way beyond? You know, that I don't have to die and. You know, anyone who has a little intelligence, everyone in India knows, and take birth again, come back again. You know, so Prahlad gives a little bit of that at the beginning, and then he starts describing how one, you know, how you can escape from that, how you can overcome birth and death, and he's also giving, as you remember, there's so many descriptions of the ecstatic situation you can attain. That this is our actual birthright. This is who we are. Living in a world, in a situation where most of the time we're in anxiety, and it's relieved by a few, you know, the weekend, you know, we can go and get intoxication. You need breweries. It's a wonderful, you know, meme. You really have to try hard in order to go to hell. But if you want to become Krishna conscious, it's very cheap, really. You know, just give you time, chant Hare Krishna. So. There's all of these arrangements that for defense, for sense pleasure, for all of these things, and all of them are ultimately fallible by the force of time. So then he describes the different kinds of ecstasies and happiness one can experience in Krishna consciousness. So in other words, what is life after all? You know, forget about the spiritual life. Life is an attempt to mitigate the difficulties and to maximize the happiness, isn't it? And since most people are, you know, buried in illusion, happiness in the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance is all they know. And you try to arrange, well, let's maximize that, and that's a successful life. But that's a failure of a life. Because in doing that, especially today, you don't know what's really sin, and if you perform, you're going to have all this bad karma. You may probably lose the human form of life, which is a great tragedy. So that's the situation. And if you believe it, this is why knowledge is so important. Knowledge. Because by this knowledge, you really understand who you are, who God is, what this world is, and what the opportunity is that we have for making our life successful. And what is that success? Later on, Prahlad, in his prayers, not in his prayers, maybe he spoke this already to his father, but those 3 verses, yes, we had those, that his father, you know, asked him, well, how did you become Krishna conscious, you know? So he doesn't actually answer that right away, later on maybe to his father. But he says, Matirna Krishna paratak svatova, mito bipadjit griha bhatanam. Adanta Gobhi, Vishatam Tamisram. That line came in here in this purport, or previous purport study. Vishatam Tamisram Punak Punascharvita Charvananam. That's such a classic line. It's so easy to remember, the repetition. Punak Punak, again and again, Charvita, chewing the Charvananam, that which has been chewed. That's material life. You know. So, but previously he's describing that, don't worry, he's saying, don't worry, Father, you'll never become Krishna conscious. You know, And why does he say, Matir na Krishna? One cannot place his mind on Krishna, Padataksotova, either by his own efforts or by meeting with others or by, any way. If you have this qualification. Mito bipadjete griha vatanam. If you've taken a vow, more or less, to stay in materialistic family life, which is the main way that the illusion is binding us. Griha vatanam, which is characterized by adanta gobhir, uncontrolled senses, and vishatam tamishram, you enter more and more into darkness of ignorance, and your happiness is punak punascharvita charvana, again and again chewing the chewed, that which you've already experienced, or others have already experienced, And then what is the characteristic? What is the implication of this? And here's a verse Prabhupada quoted all the time. Nate, they, from the previous verse, Nate vidu svartakatimi vishnum dudasyaye bahirartamanina. Bahirartamanina means you're looking outside for things of value. When, remember, this verse talked about how the Lord is always within our heart. We have to look within. We have to look for the Spirit. So he says, Nate vidu, they don't know what the real goal of life is. This word is so important. Sva-arta, which is karma has to be svarta. Svarta means the goal of the soul. It means our goal as spiritual beings, not the illusory goals just when we identify with the body. Nate vidu svartakatim. They don't know the real goal of their ultimate life. Arta means value. Nate vidu svartakatim durashaya. So what are they? What's the goal? Durashaya. Practically impossible to attain external benefits. And if you attain them, they're temporary. You see? Durashaya bahirarta. Bahirarta means external goals. Your consciousness is out. How can I manipulate them internally? Instead of trying to find the super soul in the heart, who is the best friend. He is our surida. Bhoktaram yagitapasam sarvaloka maheshadam suridam sarvabhutanam gyata mam shantim richati. Where is there real peace in this world? Certainly not with the UN, just adding flags, And there's no real peace because, you may go to yoga class and get a few minutes of, satori or whatever it is, But then the class is over, back out into the street, and I got to go pay the rent, go to work, what's my kids doing, It's just the material life. So, they don't know. Natevidu svartakatimi vishnum durashiyaye bahira adanta gobhir andaya tandaya. The blind leading the blind, beginning with your parents. If your parents are not Krishna conscious, they train you up and, andaya tandaya, and then all the disinformation, misinformation, the political situation is based on lies. Everyone can see that now. Where's the truth in all of this? So, andaya tandaya rupadiyamana, and because it's the blind leading the blind, everyone stays bound up by the modes of nature, tightly by matter. So what's the way out? Does anyone remember the third verse? Naisham matistava rurukamanging spishachanata bhagamo yarata mahiya sampada rajobhishekam nishkinchanadam navanita yavat. Here in the Sanskrit you have this wonderful pairing of yavat and tavat. Tavat, usually it's negative. Yavat means unless you do this, you won't get this, the tavat, you see. So they can be, the yavat was at the end and the tavat is beginning. Nivritta tarshai, so he's describing, yes, no, that's a different verse. Naisham matis, Naisham matis, he's talking about matis, your mind. You remember it began with Matir na Krishna. So he's saying, Na Esha matis, your mind can never be fixed on Krishna until you do this. Naisham matis tavat, and it's such a wonderful phrase. Urukramanging spishati. Touching, you're literally touching with your consciousness the lotus feet of Krishna. Tavat Urukama is the great stepper, the great actor. It's a word for Vamanadev, and you can use it for any incarnation. Angrim is feet. Spishat anarta apagamo yadarta. You can't get the great valuable thing of getting rid of your anartas. You see? Anarta apagamo yadarta. The arta of getting anartas. If you get rid of anartas. Until you do what? Mahiyasam Padadadobhishekam, until you find a Mahiyasam, a great soul, who's Nishkinchana, who has no material desire but is a pure devotee of the Lord. Mahiyasam, what do you got to do? Bathe yourself in the foot dust, which is a metaphor for surrendering, putting yourself under the guidance and serving. Mahiyasam Padadadobhishekam, Nishkinchanaram, has no material desires. Navanita Yavat. Until you do that, you won't get to be able to think of Krishna. You won't be able to become Krishna conscious. So that is a primary step. That is the essential first step, really, in serious devotional service, bhakti yoga. And Prabhupada emphasizes it all the time. Krishna emphasizes in the Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter, text 34. Tad vidi panipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshandi te jnanam jnaninas tattva darshana. So this emphasizes the idea of knowledge, of getting transcendental knowledge. If you want to understand all these sacrifices just described and all the rest of the thing about Krishna consciousness, Panipatena, you have to surrender. You have to surrender your life to the Tattvadarshi, the great soul who has already seen the truth. And this is what the disciplic succession is so important. So how do we do that now? Well, the most important way to do it is to read Prabhupada's books, and not just read them, but study them. And try to take it, because we're getting the association of such a great soul. And in the pages of Bhagavatam, Prabhupada, end of one purport in the first canto, Narada Muni is instructing Vyasadeva. And he said something like, and we'd like to thank Narada Muni for so kindly appearing in these pages. Because that's the most important interaction, is hearing the words. Prabhupada put his life and soul into these purports. And don't forget, he's also following the commentaries, other commentaries, putting it in. So he's giving us all, what is the meaning? I learned an interesting thing. I like to pick up these little editing points, Prabhupada would always use this word purport. And what does it mean? It means meaning, basically. It means the inner meaning, yeah. So, but what you probably didn't know, that in the English that he learned, which is English that you can find if you could find an Oxford English dictionary, that the word purpose can be used to mean purport. I didn't know if you know that. It's not so clear. But in modern English, no. So I first discovered this when I was working on the Ishopanishad. Working on it means looking if there's any mistakes that have to be fixed. Because the history of the Ishopanishad is that Prabhupada wrote it in India. He serialized it in his Back to Godhead, but he didn't finish the serial, but he had a whole manuscript, which I had to work with. I could refer to. But it appeared, many of the mantras, half of them maybe appeared in his old BTG that he published in India. And he brought the other manuscript with him. So then the first edition came out in '69, and devotees didn't know all that much, and so there were various little mistakes in it. But it was revised in '74, I believe, by Hayagriva. He got through, he did a whole bunch of it. But he didn't know all that much either. He made some mistakes. I mean, it was better, but... So I had all those versions of it. And right at the beginning of the introduction, it was what does the word Veda actually mean, But he didn't use it. He said, what is the purpose of the Vedas? Purport. But no one recognized it. What is the purpose? Because the Vedas have purpose to enlighten us, The Vedas, what is the purpose? But then the next part of the sentence, but the meaning is finally one, As, I forget, compendium of spiritual knowledge or something. But the meaning means ultimate knowledge. Vedas means knowledge. So I said, well, okay, that doesn't compute. The purpose and then meaning. So I looked it up in the Oxford English. Sure enough, purpose can mean purport. So I changed it. But the purport, what is the purport? So you have to watch out for that when you read, because in the Bhagavatam. But anyway, understanding the purport, the meaning of it, is essential. Prabhupada would point all these Bhagavad Gitas were published in English. Many of you may not know there was these transcendentalists. They were called the transcendentalists at the end of the 19th century in America. Emerson, Thoreau, and there were a few more. And they wrote and they read Bhagavad Gita. Because it was, don't forget, the English were ruling India. And so some of them learned Sanskrit and they translated. Anyway, but no one got they wanted the Gita without Krishna. But Krishna is the central figure. The whole thing culminates in surrender to Krishna, to think of him, to serve him, manmana bhava madbhakta. So nobody became a devotee from all those hundreds of Gitas. There's a lot of them. So Prabhupada wanted the Gita as it is, the Bhagavad Gita as it is. That's what has potency. So that means the real meaning of the verses have to shine out. When Krishna says, Prabhupada would say, me means Krishna. So many times, mom, me, Krishna says me. It doesn't just mean something in general, it means literally that personality, Krishna, So that's invaluable, to have that. And we need to regularly study and absorb it and even memorize some verses. It's a very enlivening thing, which I've been doing all my career. Because these verses, they embody so much knowledge. And just one verse, manmana bhavamad bhakto manjaji mam namaskuru mam evaishasi satyam te pratijane priyosimi. I like the one in the 18th chapter, because he's promising his friend, I will just think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and bow down to me. And you'll come to me, oh friend, I promise you. So that's so important. It's simple. It's think of me, become my devotee. Well, how to do that? Okay, then we have to be trained up, nectar of devotion, how to become the devotee, like that. But if you don't believe, then you try to take Krishna out of the equation. It's demonic, And so Prabhupada is very, if you read the introduction in the preface, you realize, he explains that. So we're so fortunate we have all the facility, this temple, to be able to come and to see the deities and to sing before the deities and have association and prasadam and all these things. With great effort, Prabhupada, gave that to us. And his followers maintaining it. And so that's the first thing, the first line of the first verse of the Guru Vashtaka. We should feel such gratitude. Samsara dava nadadida loka tranaya. Right? Samsara dava, the burning forest fire of samsara. He's saving us, tranaya, in the form of a cloud of mercy, raining down mercy in the form of his books, in the form of his instructions, prasadam, the holy name, all of that. When you appreciate that, then you become inspired to, yes, I'll surrender. So all of these there, and Prahlad is he's condensing the whole thing in the few minutes he has to preach to his friends, and they're all believing him, and they're all becoming devotees, and that was the last straw for Hiranyakashipu. He himself is going to kill his, son. Pulls out his sword. You always say to someone protecting you, there's some God. Where is he? Is he in this pillar? Where is he? He's everywhere, Father. He's everywhere, Father. He's in this pillar? Yes, Father. I don't believe you. You'll see that next chapter. Out comes Nrsingadev. And he's very, very angry at Hiranyakashipu for tormenting his pure devotee. Okay, any questions, comments? Corrections?
Small comment.
Objections? Go ahead.
Thank you, Jyotir Prabhu, for a wonderful lecture.
Hare Krishna.
You were mentioning that movie Oppenheimer is called, is that correct? Oppenheimer. And that director, Christopher Nolan. I have actually met a few people who would get Bhagavad Gita on the basis of that quote that they heard in that movie.
Oh, no kidding, huh?
So he did some service to.
So do you know when as soon as someone to open the book, the 11th chapter?
Yeah, I do. And like for instance, one time I remember this person came over to me and he said, "Oh, look, Bhagavad Gita. I've heard that quotation from the movie I watched." So I would give it to him.
Maybe Oppenheimer himself gets some credit for that. He needs a lot of help, because inventing the atom bomb is not good karma, that's for sure. That's a great story. You send in a little story for Vijay. Let everyone to hear that. It's really great. Anything else? Okay, and then I'm going to end with a little poem. That's my signature. Okay. Because Prahlad, he went through so much about the ecstatic, something really. So that we can pray for that. You've heard this one before. Oh, here's one. Yes.
So, how you know about Krishna?
How did what?
How?
Oh, Oppenheimer?
No. I'm talking about Prahlad Maharaj. In one of the verses he mentioned Krishna.
Yeah.
So, that was in which yuga that? happened? That was on this earth planet or the heavenly planet?
Well, I don't know. I mean, he learned from Narada Muni. Narada Muni couldn't have taught him about Krishna?
Definitely.
Oh, right.
But was in the heavenly planet this happened, not on or in this planet.
Yeah, but I mean, Krishna is not known before he appears on this planet?
No, of course. But I'm asking if this pastime happened in this planet or in the heavenly planet.
You mean what we're reading here?
Yeah.
Yeah, it happened on Indraloka, because that's where Hiranyakashipu took over Indra's kingdom and his palace and everything. That's a good question. I certainly can't answer it now without a little research, if you'll forgive me.
That's okay. Thank you.
Good question. Only you can ask that question. No one else would ask that. Can I give a little poem? So this is a prayer, and it has, Sanskrit is such a beautiful language. He uses, by the way, I just want to let everyone know, the combination of ND, as in Ananda, Nanda, Nandana, this is known to evoke bliss. The very combination, the sound. And so you find verses where it's this tour de force of that sound. Nanda Nandana Padada Binda Yosyandamana Makadanda Bindava Sindava Patamasauki Samadam Nandi Andabidiyam Mamanisha. This is from Stavamala, where I didn't put it in a poem yet. But Rupa Goswami is praying, "Oh Nanda Nandana, please let me always delight in the makaranda, nectar flowing from the lotus flower of your feet, by serving, But here's one that has all M's. Every word begins with M, which is the real tour de force of alliteration. Madodesha madudi mayamadava madadi mattalika mugdha mama madana mohana madama dayamanaso maha maha moham. O Master of Mathura, lovely Lord of Goddess Shri, who play such maddening melodies upon your Murali. O Cupid's charmer, please redeem a life till now misspent by joyfully destroying my extreme bewilderment. And here's a prayer. You may have heard this from before, but I like it. I'll end with this. But this is what we should pray for. This is how they're teaching us how to pray. Bujanga the Prachandakas Buddha the Kandachu Dankure, Diranga Shadrigan Shada Brahmina Badna Bringam Brahme. Patangi duhitustati vanukati the Kali Priye, Padas Buddha the Me Mahostwai Mukunda Shuddha Rati. Pure love. You you wear the best of crests, a crown of perfect peacock plumes. Your dancing glances stun the bees meandering amidst the blooms. You relish love play in a cottage by Kalindi's shore. O Krishna, may pure love for you be mine forevermore. It's a perfect prayer. So if you want my poetry, just send me an email. You don't even have to have any body to it. Just put in the subject matter poetry, and then I'll send you my file of poetry. Some of them are illustrated. They have the color paintings that I wrote. That's the first poems I wrote for the 2004 calendar. But it wasn't the one that hangs. Surya Prabhu had an idea. Maybe we should have a desk calendar that sits on the desk. So I asked him, can I write the captions as poetry? He said, yeah, try that. So we have the 12 of those. Here's a sample. And then I'll let you go. So imagine the painting. Many of you have seen it. Krishna and Balaram running into the forest along the river Yamuna, and the cows and the boys are behind. They're out of the town now. They're free. They're running. Let's go, said Krishna. Don't delay at all. And he and Balaram began to run ahead of all their cowherd friends who called, "Oh Krishna Rama, let us join the fun." And off they ran to Braja's forest haunts to play in every bower, grove, and sward. That's a meadow. The boys would tease their friend with playful taunts, forgetting his position as the Lord. Shri Krishna is inviting us as well to join him in his pastimes, which enthrall. The wise heed Krishna when they hear him tell, "Let's go, my friends, do not delay at all." All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare. Dravida108 @ gmail. I think we're going to start putting that in the weekly newsletter. Little notice. If you want the poetry, just send me an email.